And welcome back. Joining me now is Kentucky Democratic Governor Andy Beshear. Governor, thank you so much for joining us here on Meet the Press Now. And I want to inform you and our viewers that just a few moments ago, we just got a report from inside the White House, a reporter asking the president how his call with Justin Trudeau went. He said very good, and asked if he would still impose tariffs on Canada. He said simply, watch. So, Governor, Canada, Mexico, and China are all among Kentucky's top import and export partners. I, for one, am a big fan of Kentucky bourbon myself. But what is the likely impact here of tariffs specifically on the Commonwealth of Kentucky?
Well, the impact can be devastating. I mean, we have the best economy of our lifetime in Kentucky right now. We've broken every record for private sector investment, new jobs, wages. Things are looking up for the people of Kentucky. But when you look at what these tariffs will do and what the response will be, it's going to harm my state significantly. Canada is our biggest trading partner. You know, last year we had over $40 billion of exports. That's shattering our record by far. About $9 billion of that, over 20% goes to Canada. So this is a really important trading partner for us. And we've already seen that the retaliatory actions have included many parts of Canada pulling bourbon from their shelves. So let me give you just three numbers when it comes to bourbon. 95% of the world's bourbon is made in Kentucky, but all the bourbon worth drinking. 30% is the amount that Donald Trump won Kentucky by, and 0 are the numbers of bottles of Kentucky bourbon that are now on some Canadian liquor store shelves. This is something that impacts us directly, and Donald Trump's policies stand to hurt, and hurt badly, some of the very people that helped elect him.
And Governor, though, what's in your power here? Is there anything you can do to soften the blow to Kentuckians?
Well, I can certainly lift my voice, make sure that I'm explaining how these tariffs will harm our families. Talking about how I believe Donald Trump became president again, because those last group of movable voters, their gut check was that he would spend more time trying to lower prices. But that's not what he's doing. He's signing more executive orders on culture war issues than he is on the economy. And the actions he's taking on the economy, he's admitting could raise prices and cause pain. You know, the people of the United States, I think some of the people of Kentucky that made that gut check vote are going to feel very betrayed if his actions ultimately, make it more expensive to buy groceries and to fill their gas.
Well, Governor, to that point, you know better than anyone that Kentucky voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump in 2024. Trump ran on these tariffs. There are likely a lot of people in the Commonwealth cheering him on for these moves. What's your message to them?
Well, I don't think that these voters were looking at an across-the-board tariff and the damage that could happen from it. But my message to the American people is you wanted a president that would be more focused on the economy and less focused on other things. And we've gotten anything but that. And if this president puts these tariffs into play, if he does this to Canada, eventually to Mexico, what's going to happen is your grocery prices are going to go up. Your gas prices are going to go up. And it's going to be one individual that did that, and that's Donald Trump.
And Governor, on Friday, the president said there was nothing that could delay these tariffs. Now, Mexico's tariffs are delayed. Do you think this is all just a negotiating tactic?
Well, if it's a negotiating tactic, it's a tactic that threatens the livelihood of so many different Americans. People will lose their jobs if these tariffs go into place. He threatens to harm or devastate or crater a great economy where people are finally starting to do better and feel better. This is Donald Trump potentially writing a legacy where he took an economy that was really starting to work, and because he wanted to be strong and powerful and negotiate some great deal, caused harm to the American people.
And is it sustainable to base trade and financial policy in 1 month increments like this?
No, absolutely not. Well, and listen, these are important alliances and partners with the United States. It's not just Canada and Mexico. But when you look at what's coming with Europe and our European allies, those alliances, a healthy Europe is important for world stability. And this threatens so much the economies of countries that are supposed to be our friends, that we depend on for global security. It's a very dangerous game.
And Governor, I want to play what Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell said last night about these tariffs. Listen.
It will drive the cost of everything up. In other words, it'll be paid for by American consumers. I mean, why would you want to get in a fight with your allies over this?
Sounds like he agrees with you. If that's how he feels, what do you want to see him do in Congress?
Well, first, he is speaking out, and I'm grateful. And Rand Paul has been speaking out, too. So when you have Republican Senators Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul and a Democratic governor of the same state all agreeing that tariffs like this are a really bad idea, it's because tariffs like this are a really bad idea. And my hope is that they will use all of their leverage and talking to the White House, but then taking action. Listen, the Senate, Congress's job overall isn't to do whatever a president tells them to do. It is to be an independent branch of government, of checks and balances, and to not let this president just roll over them. I mean, so much of the funding that's been paused wasn't just a part of some budget. It was a part of a law that was passed, a law that is on the books, where Congress said we are going to put this program into play. We're going to help the American people. And a president can't simply just stop those laws from being executed.
Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky. Governor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.